What do you think of Tiger?
Well, Tiger is the most talented golfer that ever lived, without a question. I honestly believe whether he'll reach Jack Nicklaus's majors is debatable. Nobody knows. Time will tell. I'm going to give you a very interesting scenario. If Tiger Woods, once he won the US Open by 15 shots, if Tiger Woods never had a lesson from another pro in his life, Tiger was so good. He was so much better than anybody who plays today. He was so much better on the way than anybody that ever lived. He could never hit the ball like Ben Hogan. Never, not even close. But that's not what counts, it's scoring. I'm talking about scoring, winning. Tiger Woods, if he never had another lesson, just left what he had, he would have won 20, 22, 24 majors.
Gary Player shared fairways with Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus. And after 70 years around this game, that is his verdict. But every great champion gets praised. What you're about to hear is something rarer, because when Tiger's rivals talk honestly about what it was like to face him, the compliments fall away, and what's left underneath sounds a lot like surrender. There is no chance. We're all human beings here. There's no chance humanly possible that Tiger is going to lose this tournament. No way, said Colin Montgomerie during the 1997 Masters, which takes us back to Saturday night at Augusta, April 1997. The best player in Europe stood in front of the press and conceded a major championship with an entire round still to play. Reporters reminded him that Greg Norman had thrown away a 6-shot lead on this very course 12 months earlier, but Montgomerie wouldn't budge. He had just spent 5 hours inside the ropes with Tiger Woods, and whatever he saw out there had settled the question completely. We'll come back to that Saturday, and to what Montgomerie actually watched, because over the next 25 years, nearly every great player of the era ended up admitting the same thing. Start with Ernie Els. Nobody carries more scar tissue from the Tiger era than Els. He finished runner-up to Woods 7 times, 4 of those in major championships, more second-place finishes to Tiger than any player alive. And this is a Hall of Famer with 4 majors of his own, a man who for years was the second-best golfer on the planet. So when Ernie explains what truly separated Tiger from everyone else, he's speaking from closer range than anyone who ever lived.
Gets me the most, and people ask me this question a lot, is, what separated Tiger from us? I mean, there's a lot of things, but the one real factor was his intensity on the first tee. On the first tee, you just want to get in the round, see how things are, testing out the waters a little bit of the competition. And, hopefully by 4 or 5, you even par or 1 under and you get into the tournament. A lot of us are like that. But Tiger, he was different. On the first tee, he was ready to go. He was ready to absolutely strangle the golf course and then get to the field eventually, and really take down the tournament. He wasn't there to mess around. He didn't play too many events, but when he played, he was ready to go. And his eyes, on the practice putting green, you make some small talk,
Think about what that means across 4 days of a tournament. While the rest of the field spent the opening holes finding a rhythm, Tiger was already taking shots out of them before some players had hit their first green. For everyone else, the event began somewhere on the front 9 Thursday. For Tiger, it began the moment he stepped onto the tee. And if you want proof of how deep that focus was, listen to his greatest long-term rival. Phil Mickelson battled Tiger for 2 decades and beat him more often than most men ever managed. When he was asked which part of Tiger's game he actually envied, his answer had nothing to do with a golf club.
What part of Tiger's game that you wish you had?
His ability to focus, block everything out, and get the best out of him, that's the thing that I strive for and envy the most.
The owner of the best short game of his generation, and the thing he coveted most was happening inside Tiger's head. Which brings us to the year that mental advantage turned into something the sport had never seen. The numbers from the 2000 season sound made up. 20 starts, 17 top 5 finishes, 9 wins, 3 of them major championships. And in June, at Pebble Beach, Tiger produced what many still call the greatest golf ever played. He finished the U.S. Open at 12 under par, the only man in the entire field under par at all, and he won by 15 shots. In more than a century of major championship golf, nobody has ever won one by more shots. Ernie Els finished tied for second that week. Afterward, he sat in the media center and did the math on his own defeat. He said, "If I played out of my mind, I probably still would have lost by 5, 6, or 7. A reporter brought up old Tom Morris, who had won the Open by 13 shots back in 1862, the record margin Tiger had just erased after 138 years. To which Ernie responded, "If you put old Tom Morris with Tiger Woods, he'd probably beat him by 80 shots right now. I'm running out of words." Decades later, with nothing left to protect and nothing left to prove, this is how Ernie sums up that whole era.
He definitely dominated. I mean, unfortunately for me, he did dominate our era, that 10-year era. And, he beat me a lot more often than I wanted to get my hands on him. But he was just amazing, just absolutely amazing talent and the way he performed. I don't know, I never played with Jack Nicklaus, but obviously they would have had a great rivalry. He was just a little bit too good, and it pains me to say that, but that's just a fact. But I did have some good battles with him. I did beat him here and there, but he, I don't want to sound like sour grapes, but playing against him in the United States, gave him a little bit of a I wouldn't say upper hand, but he was a bit more comfortable than I was.
Because of the fan support?
Well, just because, you're playing at home.
Right.
I've got great support here, unbelievable support through the years, but at the end of the day, you're playing at home and the other guy's not. So, you just feel a bit more comfortable. And that played into his hands, but also the talent of the man is just amazing. The shots that he played and the best closer I've ever seen in my life.
The best closer he ever saw. And that takes us back to Augusta in 1997 and the round that made Colin Montgomery surrender. Monty was paired with Tiger in the third round, 3 shots back Europe's #1 player against a kid competing in his first major as a professional. Here's what he watched.
Interesting, he started 3 shots ahead of me and with the last group out on Saturday, and I thought, well, okay, I've got a bit of experience. We can do that. This is only his second time at the Masters, I believe. I think he played as an amateur before, and I actually have to say, I hate to say this, but I did outdrive him on the first hole. I hit the back of the right-hand bunker, the downslope of the right-hand bunker, and it shot forward. He must have hit a 4-iron off the tee or something, but I got him the first hole, and that was the last time I saw him. Easiest 65 I've ever seen shot, as you were saying, 3.5 years later, we've got the so-called Tiger Slam, and it was never really accepted as a Grand Slam. In my book, if you hold all 4 majors at the one time, if you can put them on your tabletop or mantelpiece, whatever it is above the fireplace, all 4 majors at the one time, I'd say that was a Grand Slam in my book.
The easiest 65 he ever saw. Tiger went on to win that Masters by 12 shots with the lowest 72-hole score in tournament history. And within 4 years, he was holding all 4 major trophies at the same time. The feat Monty believes deserved even more credit than it got. By then, even the man whose records Tiger was chasing had seen enough. Jack Nicklaus played alongside him at the 2000 PGA Championship, and afterwards, he said this: "I had never played with Tiger in a tournament before, and I said, man, it's time to pass the baton. This guy's really good." The greatest champion in history, handing over the throne mid-round. The players saw the scores like everyone else did. But what they talk about most, all these years later, isn't just the golf. It's the feeling. Sunday at a Tiger tournament had its own weather. The red shirt came out, the galleries swelled, and the roars rolled across the course so that players 2 fairways away knew exactly where he stood without ever seeing a leaderboard. Inside the locker room, the effect ran deeper than anyone wanted to say publicly, until Montgomery said it at the Players' Championship in March 2000 after Tiger opened 1 shot off the lead. I think the view in the locker room, without saying it out loud, was the tournament was finished, and it was who is going to finish second. Competing for second, almost every rival of that era has since admitted it in some form, including the one man with the strongest claim to be the exception. In 2004, Vijay Singh matched a feat only Tiger himself had managed in that era, 9 wins in a single season, and knocked Tiger off the world #1 ranking he'd held for more than 5 years straight. If anyone earned the right to say he never played for second place, it's Vijay Singh. But listen to how he remembers it.
Who would you say was your most challenging opponent during your career? Like who A, was the most challenging, but also raised your game, like forced you to be at another level?
When I first went to Europe, I had few practice rounds with Jack Nicklaus, and you kind of look at them and say, wow, I'm playing with Jack Nicklaus. So you kind of learn from that, and you get Ballesteros' era, you got Nick Faldo's era, they're kind of similar, and then you got Tiger's era. So kind of everybody kind of challenged me in a different way.
Yeah.
So, but the only thing was, I mean, Tiger's era was really tough because he was dominant throughout his career. So I kind of thought that he was the one to beat all the time, with Phil there as well, and Ernie else was in the same generation. So those are the guys that I always fought against, and they were good players. I mean, they were tough players to beat, especially Tiger. I mean, when he gets his game right, I mean, you got to be on, otherwise you're going to finish second.
You're going to finish second from the one man who fought back harder than anyone. Graham McDowell, a U.S. Open champion himself, put his own first experience even more bluntly. There was a real wow factor. He was playing a different sport than me. Then there's David Duval, and his testimony might be the most honest of all, because Duval climbed higher than anyone. In 1999, he took the world #1 ranking from Tiger and held it for 15 weeks. He climbed closer to the summit than anybody else of that era, so he understood better than anybody what staying there demanded.
Did he directly motivate you to play the best golf of your life?
Unquestionably. I think that as much as anything, you saw what could be done. Certainly he's an elite athlete, the greatest player who's ever been. And you knew that as a competitor, if you weren't 100% sharp when you were playing against him, he was just going to wear you out. And so as much as anything, I think it pushed players, certainly myself, to be as prepared, as sharp as I could be as rested as I could be, and really pay attention to the mental aspects of the game, because I think one of the things that Tiger was so great at is eliminating mistakes. He just didn't make them. Certainly hit back golf shots, but just didn't make mental errors on the golf course when he was competing. And when you don't make those mistakes and you're playing against, the greatest player who's ever played, then you know that you are not allowed to make a single mistake, and that's the only way you can beat them.
Zero margin for error. Week after week, against a man who almost never made mistakes. Years later, Duval put that entire era into 2 sentences. Playing in the Tiger Woods era, you were asked to be flawless. The golf he played was the greatest ever played. And here's the strangest part of the whole story. The men Tiger kept beating were getting richer every single time he did it. When Phil Mickelson looked back on his early days, he remembered turning professional in an era when an entire tournament purse would run around $180,000. Then Tiger arrived, and the money changed forever. Television ratings exploded whenever he played, and his arrival was reported at the time as a major reason the PGA Tour landed a $136 million broadcast deal before the turn of the century. Purses multiplied across his career. Every rival in this video built generational wealth inside an economy Tiger created, while Tiger stood between them and the trophies they actually wanted. David Duval saw the dynamic clearly. Far back as 1999, he said, "I might be a golf star, but I think Tiger is a star. He transcends the game." That's the contradiction his rivals lived inside for 2 decades. The man who denied them titles also multiplied their paychecks, packed their galleries, and put golf on front pages it had never reached. Few players watched that transformation from a better vantage point than John Daly. Daly was one of the most popular golfers in the world before Tiger ever turned pro, a 2-time major champion who drew huge crowds all on his own. And he has no doubt where Tiger stands.
I think Jack is the greatest all-time player because of his record, but I still think Tiger is the greatest player of all time. And the reason I say that is no disrespect to these guys that won all these majors back in the day, but look where Tiger, every guy when Tiger came out could win a tournament. When Jack played, he was playing against 12 to 15, maybe 20 guys. And I'm not disrespecting it, it's just the record will show. If you look at all the winners back in the day when they were winning, it was, you know, Jack, Ernie, Watson. You don't see guys, except for Tiger, you don't see guys having a chance to win 4 majors. Rory, maybe. Bryson DeChambeau.
Scotty, maybe. But
nobody's close.
Greater than Nicklaus is the boldest claim you can make in golf. Jack still holds the record with 18 majors to Tiger's 15. But Tiger's 82 PGA Tour wins share the all-time record, and Daly has plenty of company among players who watched both eras and side with the man they actually had to face. For many of them, though, the argument gets settled by what happened to the generation that came after. The players who grew up with Tiger posters on their bedroom walls and then had to stand on a tee box next to him. Jon Rahm turned professional in 2016, long after Tiger's injuries had piled up and the years of total dominance were gone. But none of that mattered the first time Rahm had to share a golf course with him.
I'm like, holy fuck. He just won East Lake. I'm going against the one guy who has more supporters than me in Europe. And it's his type of golf course, right? Target, do this, do that. And I was hitting it bad, so I'm just in complete panic. Like, I talked to my mental coach for a while, not Brett, because I have somebody else from Spain for that. Trying to get my mind right, my physio, trying to get the things that were bugging me right. And actually talked to Tommy Fleetwood and Thomas Bjorn a little bit about what it is to play against Tiger. Because Thomas Bjorn has played with Tiger a lot in practice runs, so he knew him well. And basically ended up with, I'm going to go out there and pretend he doesn't exist. And that was the only way I could make it. It was the first time ever playing with Tiger, too. I'd never spoken to him.
That's a future major champion describing nerves no other player on earth gave him. And then there's Scotty Scheffler, the player whose dominance in recent seasons gets him compared to prime Tiger more than anyone alive. Scheffler has heard those comparisons. Here's what he makes of them, and what a single round alongside Tiger did to the way he approaches tournaments.
You hear that you're the last guy since Tiger to win back-to-back years, 5 tournaments, stuff like that, and the inevitable comparisons to Tiger. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think it's a greater discussion. I think in the simplest form, I think it's very silly to be compared to Tiger Woods. I think Tiger's a guy that stands alone in the game of golf, and I think he always will. I mean, Tiger inspired a whole generation of golfers. I mean, you've grown up watching that guy do what he did week in, week out. I mean, it was pretty amazing to see. And like, I talk about a mental change I made because I played 1 round of golf with him in the tournament. I've only played 1 tournament round of golf with Tiger Woods, and it completely changed the way I look at how I play tournaments. I mean, I can't tell you the look on his face when we got to the first green, and I look over and we're in 20th place, we're kind of playing, yada, yada, yada. And I look over and this guy is just locked in. And I was taken back. I was like, holy smokes. Then we got to the second hole and he had this chip shot and he looked at it like it was an up and down to win the tournament. And I'm like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. And so I think he completely transcended the game of golf. And I think when it comes to me, I don't even like comparisons to other players because I think when we come out here, I'm doing the best that I can to be the best version of myself. I don't think about legacy. I don't think about the past. I try to get the most out of myself each week. And I don't really love the comparisons at all.
Listen to that echo. Scheffler describing how locked in Tiger is from the very first hole is almost word for word what Ernie Els told us at the start of this video. Two players, a generation apart, independently reporting the exact same observation. When the testimony stays identical for 25 years, that's the signature of something real. Which brings us to the final verdicts. Nick Faldo won 6 major championships and was the most ruthless competitor Europe produced in the generation before Tiger arrived. He is also a man who built a second career in broadcasting on being hard to impress.
I think you did know because he won 3 juniors, US Junior, didn't he? Won 3 US amateurs.
Yeah, in a row.
So he's winning everything. And then he comes out and we both go out in 40 on Thursday morning, and then he comes back in 30, and then I say jokingly, we then didn't see him for dust for the next 12 years. He was a different golfer than he could do. Nobody could elevate the whole of their game. Like how good your wedge play, how good your mid irons, how good your short irons, how good your long irons, how good your 3-woods, how good your driving. So every department he was considered possibly the best. Maybe the odd one might be driving, might not have been deemed the best driver. And when he hits it straight, unbelievable. But he might knock a few sideways, of course. But he was head and shoulders for years, for a decade, better than anybody else.
And the last word belongs to the man who earned it, the rival who chased Tiger longer and closer and more painfully than anyone on earth. All these years later, Ernie Els still talks about him in the present tense.
Freaking machine, and he still is. You know, when he plays, he's there to win. You can see him today, even he's, with injuries, he's the half the man he was. But he's out there. He's going to find a way to try and beat you in the golf course. So what a guy, and what a time to play with him. I mean, I remember.
So think back one more time to Montgomery on that Saturday night in 1997, telling a room full of reporters there was no chance humanly possible. Athletes are trained from childhood never to say things like that. And yet for 25 years, the greatest players of an entire era lined up to say it about one man. They weren't admitting weakness. They were telling us, as honestly as they could, what it looks like when one player is simply playing on a different level.